Hi everyone. At the moment we're talking about the China Roadmap signature system from Woodburn Accountants and Advisors. If you're interested to learn about the 4 superpowers we've already discussed, go back to our latest videos and you can see a record of each of those superpowers. Today we're going to be talking about superpower number 5, which is protection. And this is all in the milestone about implementation. So basically, when you go into China, you might have extremely high expectations about this new market, predominantly because of the amount of opportunities that exist there on the ground. But because you're not physically on the ground at the moment, you may have misplaced some trust, you may have misplaced some loyalty in employees, in suppliers, in customers, in third parties, in a wide variety of different providers or companies, right? And let's face it, fraud exists everywhere. Not just in China, but it exists in every single jurisdiction. And when fraud does occur, it may shock you, and it may surprise you, and it may, and most probably will, deter you from focusing on what is important, which is scaling up in the Chinese market. Now, when you are starting off your China journey, I think that the most important thing you need to realize and be open to is that fraud, misplacing trust and loyalty with employees, suppliers, customers, service providers, etc., will happen. And what we need to think about is how can we prevent most of that damage. So if fraud is going to happen, and we know it's going to happen, and when it does happen, we're not going to be shocked. We're going to have an action plan about how to take care of it. Then at a minimum, what we can do before we start our China journey is protect ourselves as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as managers, and protect our business. So what is important about superpower number 5, which is all about protection, is ultimately evaluating what is at the core of your business. What are the core assets? What do we need to protect to make sure that if fraud were to happen, yes, there's going to be damage, but we are going to minimize that as much as possible because we've instilled protection methods. So for me, superpower 5 is evaluating what assets need to be protected. Does this mean protecting the board of directors, the legal representative, the GM, the supervisor? Does it mean protecting our trademarks, copyrights, patents? Does it mean protecting our employees? Does it mean protecting our office, our equipment, machinery, whatever else there is there? Do we need to protect our system processes? Do we need to protect our bank accounts? Do we need to protect our business licenses? It is all about creating corporate governance within our organization so that we are protected in case of ... whatever might happen. All right. I do not know a single foreign investor that's gone into the Chinese market and hasn't had something fall along their journey, whether it's been an obstacle from employees, from government, from customs, from tax, from employees, from suppliers, from customers, from service providers, whatever it might be. There's always an obstacle that's kind of plopped along their way. Those who have actually protected themselves and thought about corporate governance and how everything is working are those that come out and quicker out of these roadblocks and are able to scale up and not lose time. If I reflect back 20 odd years ago, when I first arrived in China, I didn't evaluate my assets. I did not evaluate what was core to the business. And whenever a roadblock plopped along the way, it meant that I needed to take time doing something around that. And the perfect example of this is basically I arrived in 2003. We did not register our trademark. And at the point when we wanted to do that, we realized that somebody had hijacked it. And for us, the conclusion was that we had to rebrand. I have a whole bunch of other obstacles that popped along the way, but that is the one that I talk a lot about because it meant that it took 3 months out of my time to rebrand. So it is really important to evaluate your assets, evaluate what needs to be protected, and then take action against that. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about what action plans you can take to actually protect the business ahead of time. But the first step is protection, what needs to be protected. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode on superpower number 6, where we are going to be talking about execution, creating standard operating procedures that our business and the leaders and the employees are all protected. So stay tuned for that. And again, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great evening. Take care and goodbye.